Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. It is 2021, so it's time for me to kind of recap the year. I'm going to give you guys a list of my top 10 favorite books that I read this year. Yeah, I have a couple of rules for this. One is only one book per author. So if it's like a series, then I'll show the series and then my favorite book out of the series if I read the whole thing that year. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, just one book per author, and I'm not gonna include any rereads. Like, for example, I reread The Hobbit this year, which is one of my favorite books of all time, but it's not gonna appear on this list because I've read it before. Real quick, just a few stats. I read 48 books and listened to 37 audiobooks for a total of 85 books this year. It was a pretty good year. I've got 10 that are my favorite, I guess, that I read. And this was a really hard list to come up with. And it was especially hard to put in an order. So I did try to put them in order, but they're all so good that there's really you can mix and match this thing. It was really hard, especially the top 3 or 4 or 5. It was really hard to pin it down to my absolute favorites. They're all really good. So now, real quick before we get started, I've got a couple of honorable mentions. The first is The Giver by Lois Lowry. I know a lot of people read this in school. I never read this book before, and so, yeah, I read it in the beginning of the year, in March or something. It was really good, and it just barely didn't make the cut. Yeah, so that one I think would be a number 11. My other honorable mention is The Green Mile. This one would have been in the top 10 except for the rule with only one book per author. I actually did pick a different Stephen King book for the actual list, which you'll see here in a second. Alright, so now let's get into the list. At number 10 is Tommy by Junji Ito. This is a manga. I read 3 of these, mangas by Junji Ito, compendium things or whatever, the collected works. And I know a lot of people think Uzumaki is his best, and it is really, really good, but I really liked Tommy. I thought it was great. I liked that it was serialized, each section you could read on its own, but then the last couple sections kind of brought it all together into one and connected all of them together, which was awesome. It was just really, really good. So Tommy by Junji Ito. Number 9 is The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. This is the second book in the Burning series. The first one is called A Rage of Dragons. I actually read that last year in 2019, but this is a great continuation. It's awesome military fantasy with a really unique setting, and it's super dark, and it's just exactly the kind of fantasy that I like, and I cannot wait for book 3. So number 8, this is my Stephen King pick, is Dolores Claiborne. This book is so good, and it's so unique and funny, but also really dark and twisted. It's just so good. The way it's told is awesome. It's just her just telling the stories, and so it's very stream of consciousness. It's just, and her voice is so great. She's so funny, and she says the funniest things, but the thing that she's talking about is just really twisted. It's just great. It's a great story. Number 7 is The Fisherman by John Langan. This book, it's super literary for a horror novel. It was very well told, very well written, really just tragic book about loss and the lengths people will go to see someone they love again, even for just a moment. It's just so good. I highly recommend this book. Number 6 is The Burning God. This is part of the Poppy War series, which I did read. I read all 3 of them this year, so I read the whole trilogy, and I was waiting for this one to come out. It did not disappoint. It was such a good ending to the series. I recommend the whole series. You should check it out. R.F. Kuang, great author. She's super young, and I cannot wait to see what else she does in her career going forward. All right, number 5 is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is just some really, really good body horror, gross, disturbing stuff. It was on my TBR for a while. I finally pulled the trigger on it back in, I think I read it in like September. It's just so good. Like, I really, really liked this book. All right, number 4 is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. This is a war novel. It's about Tim O'Brien's experiences in Vietnam. It is fiction, but it's also kind of nonfiction. It's also about the nature of fiction and about the nature of storytelling. It's a really, really interesting book, and it's told magnificently. It's great. You should definitely read this. All right, we're in the top 3 now, and like I said, it was really hard to kind of decide which one goes where here, so just consider these top 3 kind of all tied or whatever. But number 3 is The Last Argument of Kings. This is the 3rd book in the First Law trilogy, and then there's 3 standalones, and then there's another trilogy that he's currently working on. I have not read any of the more recent stuff. I just finished Best Served Cold, and it was really good. So, like, I highly recommend this entire series. Joe Abercrombie. Say one thing about Joe Abercrombie. Say he's a good author, because holy crap, this book is awesome. The whole series is awesome. You really need to check this out. Number 2, I'm gonna give this a special award for the saddest book that I read this year, for sure. It's On the Beach by Neville Shute. This was so good. I still think about this book, like, and I read it 6 months ago or something. I still think about it regularly and how much it affected me. It's about nuclear war, but not in the sense that, like, it's about the fallout after a nuclear war and, like, waiting to die, basically. Like, these people are just... It's so crazy. It's so good. It's so good. All right, and number 1 this year, my favorite book that I read was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. This book was great. It was so much fun. Grady Hendrix is fantastic. I cannot wait to read more of his books. I plan to this year. I think he's got a new book coming out sometime in 2021, so I'll definitely check that out. He's definitely on my must-read authors list now, and yeah, it was just so good, so much fun, and super engaging, and just it kept me invested the entire time. All right, that's it. That was my list. Let me know if you read any of these books, what you guys thought. If you want to let me know what your favorite books that you read this year were, please let me know in the comments. And, you know, maybe we can talk about them, or if I've read them or whatever. Stay safe out there, and have a happy new year. Peace.